Don't stop telling your story. It matters. Anyone that's in here who knows me knows that this is kind of my wheelhouse. This is what I love to do the most. I kind of hate sometimes being bogged down in the particulars of the job. I know that a lot of them are important, but if I could just tell stories of our students and staff all day, sign me up, please. No events doesn't mean no stories. And this goes back to the traditional SID stuff that was on that first slide. We need to find new ways to tell the stories of our student athletes and staff. Storytelling has evolved. It's not send the 10 p.m. release out to the newspapers. By and large, unless you're in a part of the country where you have a really good small local relationship with media, or in Atlanta doesn't care about us, at least unless we have this really, really big story. They're caring about UGA, they're caring about Georgia Tech, they're caring about their pro teams. But it doesn't mean without like local media that you can't tell your story. Now you need to tell your story in a multitude of ways, and I have that kind of two down. Repurpose, reuse, and recycle what you're telling. Now, I do a lot of my storytelling written, but I have to use that in different ways. So it has a place on the website. It has its own landing page if it's part of our Scotty Story series. But it's also getting put on Instagram as having a graphical component that leads them to that story. It's changing, maybe using a quote from the story or some like really kind of catchy lead or nugget on Twitter that again leads them to the story. We can't just be focused on just video or just social or just written. And this is something I know I struggle with on a pretty daily basis of trying to make sure my priorities are always correct. I don't know, John, if you want to go to the next slide just to get an idea of what I've been doing. We got this idea, and I know some schools have been doing similar things to really kind of get to the emotions of what's been going on. This is something that we've been wanting to do for a while, and this is kind of provide this moment in time, just kind of provide the opportunity to get to that. So I released a story probably about maybe not even 2 weeks after we decided to cancel our seasons in March. And we had taken the approach that we didn't just want to put the cancellation notice on the website and have that be the end of it. Before any of us knew how long this was going to last, we knew that we needed to reach our constituents, both our current student athletes, our alumni, and any community members that were having these real complex feelings about things that were going on. And so the vice president of communications reached out to me, and we talked through a couple of ideas, and we came up with this. And I've seen some other similar stories. Some people have broken it down into kind of a feature series surrounding exactly this. But I put it up on Adobe Spark, and for my SIDs in the room, you've probably used this or know about it. For those who might not necessarily know this, I spend a lot of my money throughout the year, close to 40% of my budget on imagery. I'm really lucky to have access to a photographer who was the staff photographer for both Atlanta United and the Falcons for a number of years. He was just kind of in between looking for clients, and I just happened to be looking for a photographer. And so anytime I give a presentation, whether it's for jobs or whatever, imagery is kind of my non-negotiable for budget. Now, some SIDs are taking photos themselves because they have that technology. I don't have access to that technology, so I spend the money because I'm doing so many other things, and it frees me up and I'm getting quality. But the imagery is really, even though people love the story itself, the imagery I feel in Adobe Spark is what really drives the engine, and is really capitalizing on yeah, I remember when this happened, it's associating those words with those images that had this really strong connection from the community. We got a lot of really positive response from both alums and community members that have never had any interaction with us. It was released through the alumni newsletter. It was put in conjunction with the magazine, the college's magazine, which is now going digital because, you know, a lot of things are going digital these days. But what I was aiming to do is just really capture the moment of raw emotion that wouldn't embarrass or take advantage of anyone in particular that was a part of this. So this is a series that we've started. It's not solely COVID dependent, although there's a lot of thematic elements to it. We've had to take a little bit of a break because of some other stuff that, as you know, have been happening. But we have 5 or 6 stories in the queue that are going to come out over the next couple of weeks as we prepare for a fall that's going to look, again, really different. I wrote another story a couple of weeks later, kind of trying to find some more of the positives of what our current situation is. And again, it got picked up, actually got picked up by local media, first time ever. This was about how our cross-country team was using just Garmin watches to connect with each other and how they were staying in communication with each other and how we wrapped up a spring season that was unlike any other and where this puts us moving forward. All of this was really carefully crafted around a really inclusive message that's really important to our institution. Leadership is kind of mentioned throughout in both direct and subtle ways. And it's a really easy way, even if you're not the strongest of writers, to connect with an audience that's really craving the attention in this moment.
Hey, Josh, can I interject here real quick? It
Yep.
strikes me that this type of content, and that's what it is, it's content.
Yep.
This can be leveraged not only for your internal campus audience, but this is a great way to point content outwards towards your recruits, towards your donors, towards your sponsors, as a way of demonstrating, as we talked about previously, how is your brand still actively doing things in this time of uncertainty? What's the story of the vision and the values? And it all just comes from this simple little digital story that you can then repurpose all over the place. Is that a fair way of looking at it?
That's a fair way of looking at it. I in my notes here, and recruiting is kind of my last point, is industry-wise, we've gone to this really digital space, and we don't want to forget about how the combination of the written word and imagery and video together, it really has a connection and plays on the emotions, whether we're in a pandemic or not. You really need to hit at these things at a multitude of ways and make these connections with people you didn't think you would make connections with. And that's really the response that we've gotten. These were the 2 most interacted with things that we've put out since I've been here in the last 3.5 years. Usually our traffic is anywhere from 100 to 200 for a story, and these were in the thousands. So emotion, empathy. Someone had mentioned to me a couple of weeks ago, it was like, wow, your writing, it just feels different. I said, it's just having been an athlete, having been on every different, as a coach, different sides of the administrative roles, both in athletics and the college, having worked in admissions before, there's a certain level of empathy I feel like I can understand when I'm writing, and that's going to look different for every single person. But if you feel emotionally drained after putting some of this content together, I think you're doing your job well.
Thanks for watching. If you'd like to get more great sports branding videos from Hartwell Studio Works, hit the subscribe button on the right of your screen. I'll look forward to seeing you next time.